To see you. So glad you could join us. Welcome to On the Clock. This is our Sixers Draft Instant Reaction brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to Cure.com to see how you can save. Danny Pommells, along with a second-round pick of the Golden State Warriors, Mr. Marc Jackson, here on draft night. And as always, a NBC Sports Philadelphia legend, Miss Amy Fadool, joining us here. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good.
All right. The Sixers have done what many thought they would do. They have now traded the 23rd pick and Danny Green to the Memphis Grizzlies for David Roddy. So they drafted David Roddy, and he was a 23rd pick along with Danny Green. And in turn, they get De'Anthony Melton, a 24-year-old combo guard. He was a second-round pick in 2018, and his numbers aren't bad and really fills some of the needs as this Sixers team needs, specifically a backup point guard, someone coming off the bench who can defend. And what do you see as the Sixers move here, Marc? Are you underwhelmed, overwhelmed, just whelmed? How do you feel about it?
Danny, for me, I'm underwhelmed. And let me tell you why. If you got Morey, you expect something crazy to go on. But, it was kind of quiet. And, by God, the rules, we have to make the pick. We have to make the selection. So I'm waiting for something to come out. Then we get closer to the pick. I'm like, oh, it's be one of those nights. It's just going to be underwhelming. And that's what happened. But you know what? We got Melton. He's a dog. You wanted a dog? We have one. Now we got a wing guy. So we don't have to necessarily worry about, where we're going to get scoring, we know we're going to get a great defensive guy, and we're going to get a dog, and somebody can get it going. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Danny, I think that everybody – we're always expecting a big splash, right? You just want to have some big thing. But Marc mentioned it. They need certain pieces. They talked about this right after the season ended. They got to get that mentality guy of the guy that just does the little things. De'Anthony Melton, if you look at his numbers, he is that guy for the Memphis Grizzlies. I just read a tweet from Ja Morant that he seems very upset because it's like one of these things you're like, the players that play with guys like that do the little things, they miss them. They know how important they are. He's a high energy player. He averages over a steal a game. Things like that are important for the Sixers team. So yeah, it's not a big splash, but at 23, there was a good chance it was going to be a role player anyway. Let's face it. It's not like you're going to find some hidden gem starter. I don't think in this day and age.
But Tyrese Maxey, right?
He doesn't fall into your lap. And at the time, Tyrese Maxey was a bench guy. So, yeah, I think a lot of people thought maybe Ty Washington, but I think that they weren't enamored with any one player, and they thought we need to go get that guy, a guy that can help us on our bench. Marc mentioned the scoring. He's a decent scorer. He's played point guard most of his career. Last year, they moved him over the 2, and he's short for a 2, but he's a defensive player and a guy that can just really do those little scrappy things that you need.
That was my thought, Amy. This isn't the biggest guy in the world, though. So it's not like he does have a big wingspan at 6'9", but this isn't a huge, interchangeable player. Are you underwhelmed by the fact that it's not, a guy who's more Matisse Thybulle size, a 6'5", 6'6" type of guy?
Yeah, obviously the size I think is going to be something. I'm sure it's something that's been brought up to him for. He's been in the league now 4 years. He's young. He's only 24 years old, and he came into the league when he was 20. So I'm sure it's been brought up to him. Sometimes guys like that play bigger, but I also look at, if you're looking for that mentality, Marc said it best, that dog mentality. Let's look at some of the dogs that were out there this past year, in the past couple of years. You're looking at like a Kyle Lowry and a Marcus Smart. Those guys aren't the biggest guys, but they play big. So I'm not saying that DeAndre Melton is that guy. He's not Kyle Lowry. He's not Marcus Smart, but he could be a player like that for them. So I think that the size probably is a common knock for him. 6'2" is not big, especially if he's playing that 2, but he's a guy that can get you some points, that is a decent three-point shooter, shot about 37% last year. The year before that, he was over 40% from 3. So he has a good shot. You need scoring depth. We all saw that in the playoffs. It was more evident than it had ever been in the playoffs this past year of the lack of scoring depth coming off that bench. And he's that guy. And as we've talked about, that energy guy too. I don't think you can underestimate that, especially when you hear what the Sixers are maybe thinking about offering PJ Tucker. Talk about, we don't have to get into that. That's crazy. I can't.
Where are you at on the size thing, Marc?
I look at Maxey. Maxey's all about 6'2", standing on the yellow page with Timberlands on. So then you bring another 6'2" guy in who's a combo guard. So we know James is about 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", James Harden. So James is going to play 38 minutes a game. So we're talking 10 minutes. So that means that this gentleman's going to get. So that means he's going to play with Maxey a lot. So we got 2 6'2" guards on the perimeter. That doesn't add up to me. But he plays big with that wingspan. I mean, listen, that wingspan is enormous. That's 6'9". I mean, that's incredible, which means he should be able to guard people 6'6", 6'7". So he can guard opposing teams 2 guards. But I would like to see something else. And I know we talking about PJ Tucker and other things they can do, but like his size bothers me, but his ability to defend, his ability to shoot and make threes, and to cause havoc with a dog-like attitude, we are answering some questions that we had and we know we needed.
A lot of speculation coming into the draft about what the Sixers might do. Amy mentioned PJ Tucker. There was speculation. Keith Pompey was the place I saw at first that they were interested in signing Tucker to a 3-year deal around $30 million. There was speculation that Eric Gordon could be coming to Philadelphia as well in some type of way, fashion, or form. And that made a lot of people feel like all of a sudden this was the Houston Rockets East, but it ends up being De'Anthony Melton. And they get rid of Danny Green's expiring contract and the $10 million he's owed, and then this 23rd pick. So I guess they kind of shrink the amount of money that they have, on the books, which is really important. But there's got to be another corresponding move coming, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it wouldn't be Daryl Morey if there wasn't some corresponding move. They're not about a lot of back channel conversations that are going on. Obviously, they've been trying to move this 23rd pick. There was the reports coupling it with a Matisse Thybulle, which to me looked like almost like a salary dump. So obviously they get rid of, as you mentioned, the $10 million on Danny Green. You wonder if they're not trying to go after an even bigger fish. But when you think about some of the big fish that are out there, and obviously Bradley Beal is the biggest one that everybody talks about, you're not going to move him just by getting a couple of guys that are going to be on the bench. You have to trade a superstar, maybe in the making. So it'll be interesting to see where the chips continue to fall. The Sixers don't have a second-round pick right now. I would think at this point they're probably going to try to get back in there. They do need a lot of depth. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another move made somewhere throughout the night to try to get back in the back half of this draft just to get some actual bodies. Maybe they use those bodies as assets. Maybe they don't. But I think that there's something else coming because there's too much smoke. You mentioned Eric Gordon. Obviously, he would give you some nice firepower as far as offense. PJ Tucker is 37 years old. I just can't imagine a 3-year contract.
When your best player mentions him by name after you get eliminated from the playoffs.
I get it because he's got that junkyard dog mentality, and you want that guy. Do you give that guy a 3-year contract? Let's look at offensively. I mean, PJ Tucker, yes, he gives you that kind of intangible.
I might take him with a
X
team
factor.
option, Amy. If we had a team option for maybe that 3rd year, I might take it.
If you're PJ Tucker, you're going to sign something that's a team option? You're going to sign? No.
Well, if you get a 3-year deal, 2 years guaranteed, a team option for the 3rd, something like that.
Because sometimes he's a 0 on offense. I cannot have any more zeros on offense on the Sixers squad in the playoffs.
But what do you do, Mark, if you're the front office and your best player mentions him by name and he's available in office? You got to have at least kick the tires on PJ Tucker, right?
Absolutely. When as soon as PJ heard Joel Embiid mention his name, he went into the office. Pat Riley also said, by the way,
the price went up. The price went up.
I'm still in the playoffs. You did that. Joel increased his value. That was a smart play by PJ Tucker. And of course, he's 37, so that was even a smarter play. But like Amy said, sometimes he can be kind of a one-sided player. And I think we get that account with Matisse. But here's the thing. We get similarities between PJ Tucker and Matisse Thybulle. But I think PJ can he's tougher, he's stronger, he's meaner, he's going to have more of a presence. And I trust his 3-point shooting over Matisse.
True.
And I think that's a lot to keep in mind, and we can't take that for granted.
Yeah, he was a difference maker with the Bucks. I mean, there's no doubt he would make a difference on this team. I just don't know with that contract. Yeah, Danny, if it's a team-friendly contract, maybe you do, because he does give you some intangibles that you're desperate for, and your best player did mention him by name, specifically saying, we need a player like PJ Tucker. They have PJ Tucker. We need a PJ Tucker. Well, you can get PJ Tucker now. So they definitely need that. They all saw that. You saw that in the finals. Everybody's got that guy, Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, obviously PJ Tucker, and even Jimmy Butler. But just for me, I worry about the scoring. I worry about it because we watch the playoffs. The regular season at this point is just it's almost like a second. They don't even need to worry about it. You just get in the playoffs and you figure it out. Every other team is built for the playoffs, and the Sixers were not built for the playoffs. And PJ Tucker makes a difference. I just don't know how much of a difference. Does he get you past the second round? I don't know. I don't know that.
So let me ask you a question for you. My thing is this. What is he an upgrade from Matisse? I believe
he's an upgrade from
I believe
Matisse.
so. Did we get better? We did get better. I mean, but we all speculating because we haven't signed him.
Yeah, this isn't we have no idea.
The thing for me.
You know,
this is why
I think
PJ Tucker
is
makes sense, though. This is why PJ Tucker makes sense and some just a person of his ilk, because Joel Embiid has had to be the top scorer on this team, the best rebounder, sometimes the best assist guy. Obviously, he's the best defender, the best rim protector, and he's also the enforcer. Like you can't have one player embodying all of those things. So PJ Tucker kind of alleviates some of that enforcer stuff that Joel would have to do. Also, how about this though, guys? The Sixers were making this 23rd pick because the Brooklyn Nets decided to defer their option to take the Sixers pick from the James Harden trade until next season. Brooklyn is betting that the Sixers will be worse next year.
Yeah.
How much credibility do you put into that? Do you think that he might be making a good decision there, or do you feel like the Sixers will be even better, which means the pick will be worse?
I believe that Brooklyn see like they didn't like this draft. Like I don't know if they bet on Sixers being worse next year. I really believe that they don't anticipate these players in that later pick will be more effective and better than what will be available next year.
Okay.
And that's what I'm putting my money on.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is a deep draft, but obviously when you're in the 20s, it's kind of like almost like a crapshoot. You're drafting guys to be, good role players. You're drafting guys hoping they turn into something. It's not like you're drafting in the top 15, 16. It's a completely different thing. Obviously 10 picks later or so. So I'm with Mark. I think that the Nets were figuring, even if they're the exact same, we get 23 next year. What's the difference? I don't think that they valued anybody in particular in the back half of this draft so much that it was going to be a difference maker on their team. I think the Nets still believe that they're one of the best teams in the East, and rightfully so. We don't know what team they'll have, but at least they'll have one of the two, whether it's Kyrie or Kevin Durant. I don't think it's going to be both, but they obviously have a very talented team, and they figure whoever we get, we'll be able to find somebody in the 20s. Because the Sixers, say they're a 4 seed now. They're not going to drop out. They're not going to all of a sudden be a non-playoff team. I refuse to believe that. So I don't think it's so much as a betting that they're going to be worse. It's just that it doesn't make a difference to them.
This trade also speaks to the type of mentality of the head coach, in the sense that Doc Rivers isn't really a huge young player type of coach. Like he's not really giving those guys big minutes, Tyrese Maxey being the exception. And obviously he earned his way into the minutes that he got by taking a lot of constructive criticism, and people really nitpicking his game and tearing him apart to build him back up, so to speak. And Doc Rivers isn't really giving those young guys minutes or time. I mean, you think about the way the Sixers bench was looking toward the season, and Jaden Springer couldn't even get any time.
He wasn't even in Philadelphia.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So Melton coming here definitely gives Doc Rivers another, weapon, another player that he can use kind of interchangeably here. Do you feel like the Sixers right now and what they're trying to do, what are they better off trying to go after a big name player, or trying to build around more role players around Harden and Embiid? Like, where do you guys sit on that?
Well, let me interject here with that. Like, you need money to do that. To go another big name player, or you need trade. So you have to give up something to get something. Meaning, what we have a value other than Joel Embiid. People, James Harden for the contract he wants, they're not too high on him, is Maxey. So can we go after another big time player? Yes, but I have a feeling the only way to get another big time player is we got a package to buy his contract with Maxey. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the only option, unless we think we could dump Tobias and get something for him of that magnitude, contract wise. And I don't think that's an option. So if the only opportunity we're going to get another big time guy is to trade Maxey with Tobias. That's the only hope. And I'm not okay doing that. So I think, to me, we're going to go out and try to find a bunch of other role players to fill out that bench, because I think we get Tucker, he's in that start lineup. Matisse is off that bench, along with Melton and some other pieces.
Yeah, it's interesting, Danny. You almost posed a question of like, what should they do versus what they will do? Because what they should do is build around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. There's your core. Those are your guys. These are guys, because Tyrese Maxey is going to be coming up for that rookie extension. If I'm the Sixers, I absolutely sign him to that. You lock that kid down as long as you can, right?
What about the beard? What about that
Tobias contract gets off?
Right? Yeah, exactly. I want him to grow old here. I want to have murals on the side. So those are your guys. You build around those two guys. And as Marc just mentioned, the contract extension would line up perfectly with the expiring contract of one Tobias Harris. So the money actually would be okay when you think about like trying not to have all these max players like they did, Max Ben, Max Joel, Max Tobias, and then you're kind of stuck. But what they will do is maybe not what they should do. So I think they should build around those two players. That's your core. Those are your guys. If it's win now, obviously you got to include Harden in that. But I still think they might be going after the big fish out there. And that would mean there's no way you get Bradley Beal without packaging Tyrese Maxey. There's no way the Washington Wizards are going to take any deal that doesn't bring them back a guy that they would covet as a superstar in the making. So it just depends on what this, I've said this in the newsroom just this week, and it gives me bad vibes. But sometimes the Sixers right now give me the 2011, 2012 Phillies vibes of like trying to chase that lightning in a bottle, just trying to like
capitalize. It is win now, right? We are in win now mode.
Let's go. We are in win now, but like you can't do it you can't leverage your entire franchise because it's a lot of eggs to put in one basket and to have nothing left of it. We all saw what happened after 2012 with the Phillies. The cupboard was completely bare and they have not made the playoffs since. That's it.
Amy, John Clark reporting that, in his estimation, big moves may be done for the night. It sounds like Josh Harris's helicopter took off atop the Sixers practice facility.
Listen, Johnny Airport is not
my helicopter is not over there. I got my
Johnny
helicopter.
Helipad. In fairness, I know we give John a lot of grief on that. He is actually over at Camden, so he would be able to see if the helicopter left or whatever. But listen, Josh Harris has a phone. You can call him.
Right.
You can call him. You get
Hey, Josh,
cell
do me a
service.
favor. Let me know. You doing anything or you done for the night? Just let me know. So
I mean, there may be not many big deals, but why not go try to get back in the second round? Try to get something.
Well, let me ask you about that, Amy. Like, what do we expect to get from the second round? Another young body? Young bodies
assets.
And Doc Rivers do not add up.
Yeah, assets would be the only thing. So guys that you could package in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. You're right. The Sixers are not looking for players that they're going to go. They might maybe a stash player, but that would be about it. They don't look for guys because that's not their mentality. That's never been their mentality as far as like, hey, let's try and find a draft gem. They find guys, they evaluate them in the first round, and the second round is about, all right, well, I can either package these guys or I can stash them over in Europe and see if they turn into anybody. And that's about it.
Hey, be sure to check us out on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com with all of your draft analysis. I'm sure my guy Noah Levick will be burning the midnight oil no matter what happens. Be sure to check out Sportsnet Central for the latest on whoever is over at the Sixers practice facility speaks, whether it's Josh Harris or Daryl Morey or whatever. We will bring it to you on Sportsnet Central, as well as NBC 10 at 11 on their news. So you guys, right here we are with the draft kind of first round wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like anything else might happen tonight? What's your gut telling you at this point?
No, I think it's all happened. I think there's some of the moves, obviously Jalen Duren, the local kid from Roman Catholic, that was obviously a big move. The Knicks clearing a lot of space. Looks like they're going to try to go after Jalen Brunson, which I think is a pretty obvious. There's a lot of connections there with Leon Rose. But I got to say something. I swear it was the first 10, maybe 11 picks. Every single one of those players had a parent, mom or dad, that played at some level of professional basketball. It was remarkable. Awesome. I thought it was so awesome to see that. It was like Polish team. And I was like, and then I'm like, Mark Jackson, we're going to see you and Sharif up there.
There you go. Someone here has played in the NBA and has a son on that trajectory.
And he will be the most successful because of who his dad is. But it was awesome to see. I mean, there were some really great reactions. I loved seeing these kids have their dream realized, their parents with them right by their side. A couple of them had their kid brother, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I
but
thought that was awesome.
it was really neat. I mean, I know the draft can be a little bit overdone and overblown. The suits were on point. There were some great suits out there.
Maybe
Tari
we can
Eason
work
with
on
the
our
Green
handshake,
Lantern.
Amy, and we can have like a celebration shake or
yeah. How about
Listen,
the one?
I will be absolutely that person hovering around.
15
Sharif.
minutes. Like, hey, you know we got a show to do. You got to come on. Like,
I will be hovering around Sharif inappropriate. Like, why is this woman here? I'm just like, Sharif. He'll be like, yeah, I knew her like 10 years ago. It's kind of weird. I don't know why she showed up.
Hey, everybody, we appreciate you tuning in to On the Clock, our Sixers draft instant reaction. For Marc Jackson and Amy Fadool, I'm Danny Pommells. We're brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to cure.com to see how you can save. Good night, and make sure you check us out on all of our platforms.